Let's talk about self-advocacy. So a lot of people say you have to advocate for yourself. That's what they tell us, right? But nobody really explains what that is, what it looks like, what am I advocating about or for? Like, what am I discussing with people once I do know what it means to self advocate? And how do I do that, especially as a Black woman? How do I get in the practice or habit of advocating for myself? And here's the thing. Self-advocacy, what is it? It is the ability to articulate, to speak about your needs, and to make informed decisions about the support needed to meet those needs. And those needs, what are they? We're going to talk about them in a second. But one of the things I want to kind of impress upon you is that self advocacy is really the habit of talking about you. And it's a practice that I want to implore you to get into. Because here's the thing. Why, if you want me to be your mentor, if you want me to be your sponsor, if you want me to talk to other people about you, why would I do that if you're not willing to talk to other people about you? Like, no one's going to go above and beyond you. So no one's going to do more work in your career than you're willing to do for your career. So if you're not willing to talk to people about you, why should I be willing? Why should I put my time in to kind of molding you and talking about you? If what you want is to lead, is to position yourself as a leader, or to be even at a managerial level, if you want to have a team of people, how do you expect that team to know anything about you if you're not willing to speak? Right? If people have to say what makes you qualified, it means one of two things. Either nothing you say is going to matter, or you haven't told them why you're qualified, right? So you have to tell them. And it is your job to tell them first, second, and third. And then from third, people will pick up to support and to help you. And this is what it means when it says you'll be able to make informed decisions about the support needed to meet those needs. The more conversations you have with people about what you want to do, the more nuggets and gems and things that people will drop. And sometimes those gems and nuggets aren't good. Sometimes they're going to tell you things you don't want to hear, but it gives you more insight into perspective of how people see you. And it allows you the opportunity to change the narrative, to glow up the narrative about you, to extend upon it. This way, when it is time to get promoted, when it's time to get an opportunity, you are top of mind because you have positioned yourself to be top of mind in that lane. So, self-advocacy, we've talked about what it is. Let's talk a little bit about what are you talking about? Like, what am I self-advocating about? Right? Like, what am I talking about? The first thing, time. It is the easiest, although I know we think it's hard, thing for you to advocate about is your time. If you are not managing your time, someone else is managing you and that time. So when people see or look at your calendar and see your book and they schedule a meeting anyway, you saying no, I'm busy at that time, is you advocating for your time. If what needs to be done means that you have to work extended hours, you setting boundaries around your time with your boss or with whomever about, okay, I can do that, but I can't log back on until after 10 once my family is cared for. That would be an example of you advocating from a time perspective. The next thing you're advocating for, money. Money, money, money. Know where the money resides. Know what your time value that you offer the company produces in terms of money or yields in terms of money, and the bare minimum of what it yields. Not the bare minimum of what you're making now, but the bare minimum of what that role calls for the responsibilities of that role. All too often, Black women especially are not negotiating, right? You're not advocating for getting equitable pay. And so while there is a burden on the organization to provide fair and equitable pay, it is also your responsibility to discern the support and resources, like we talked about in terms of what is advocating, that you need to show up every day, to be committed to your work, to do an excellent job and feel good about that. When we don't advocate for the pay based on our responsibilities, based on the same responsibilities being held by a peer and what they're making, we can't show up and be our best selves, right? So that's another reason for advocating for the money. 3, you're advocating for your career goals. That includes positions, roles, promotions, and opportunity, right? And let me talk a little bit about the difference between the way I see a role and a position. A role is what you're doing day to day. Position, though, is how you position yourself even on the team. Have you positioned yourself on the team as the leader, as the expert, as the go-to person, as the face of the team, as the person, in terms of face of the team, the person that presents, the person we send out to smooth things over and talk to other people? Have you positioned yourself as the bulldog on the team? Yes, yes, and yes. All too often, there is at least one person on the team that is the mean person, who is positioned as the person your boss will send to go make people upset, because that's their position on the team. Their role may be an analyst, but their position that they play is to go tell the people the things that they don't want to hear, because they can handle it, because they enjoy it, because they don't really care what's next. Whatever it might be. Your career goals. If you are not telling people who you are, what you're doing now, what you want to do in the future, don't expect them to know or care. You have to tell people those things about you. You can't assume that they're just going to know. Number 4, resources. Human capital, L&D. I stopped writing, but what I'm getting at is, what are you advocating for? Resources. Listen, if you are at a place where you want to move into a manager or higher position, you need to be advocating to lead people. You need to be advocating that you have the capacity, the knowledge, the skill set to lead people. You cannot, let me put it this way, it's very difficult to go from individual contributor to a meaningful role as a leader without having already shown that you can lead a team of people. And there are ways that you can do this in the beginning. And a lot of it has to do with managing resources that are not directly tied to you. Maybe also another way is, if your company has summer internships, one of the ways that I got the opportunity to kind of lead people before they reported directly to me was leading interns, helping them with whatever their summer project was, right? They reported to me, and that was kind of my end to being able to then show I had the ability to lead a team at a manager level and above. Maybe the resource you need is to add to your skill set. So you need money from learning and development, or you need the opportunity to go get a certification, to do whatever it is that you need to do from an L&D and developing your skills. You want to say, hey, yes, I can become the face of the team. In order for me to become the face of the team, it means that I need to improve upon my speaking skills, which you can do in this community, by the way, if you take up and do the activities that I've signed for you. Or maybe it's, I need to include my presenting skills. So one of the things that I really had to work on was presenting. Not the talking of it, but creating presentations. So I took lots of PowerPoint type of classes. I practiced. I worked with people who were really good at it, and I got tips and tricks from them. What resources do you need? And are you advocating for those resources to help you get to the next level? And advocation, or who you're advocating to, may be your boss, but it may just be the people around you. And then 5, responsibility. And responsibility, I mean you're advocating for autonomy and authority. When I say responsibility, sis, I do not mean, and this hair I do not like, just a side tangent. Responsibility does not mean taking on more work. No, when I say responsibility, I mean in the context of leading people, having the autonomy to be strategic, to carry out a vision for the people on your team. Your boss tells you the end goal, you decide how it's done, you disseminate that down, you have the authority to push forward the objective that they've given you, and they back that authority. Right? So this is what I mean in terms of responsibility, and then autonomy and authority. Because remember, the definition of advocating is that you have the ability to discern what you need in order to be successful. So not only are you telling people what you need, you are looking and saying, yes, I can do this. In order for me to do this, I need X amount of time. Maybe I need money or other resources, people, learning, education, for me to take on this responsibility that's in alignment with my career goals. This is what advocating for yourself looks like. But let's talk a little bit more about it. Right? In a day-to-day, where would you be advocating, right? You're doing your work, maybe typing at a computer, that's one thing. What type of conversations are you having where you would be and using language where you are advocating for you and your career goals and objectives? The first place, the interviewing process and always negotiating an offer. That is the first opportunity and the best opportunity for you to get equitable pay or better, is negotiating your offer. Every time you fail to do that, you can almost guarantee that you are being paid less than, and not a little less than an amount of somewhere probably between 10, 30 to 50,000. And then you can expand upon that per year. And once you're inside, no matter how good you end up being, it is very difficult for you to make up that deficit. There are very few leaders in the organization that can pull that off, especially in one fell swoop. Next, making informed decisions about projects. Not every project is your project. Not every project needs to be taken on by you, even when you think you're the only person to do it or the best person to do it. The question is that's relevant is it something new for you? Does it add to your toolkit? That's a more relevant question. A more relevant question is, how does this help me get to my career objective, that long-term goal I have for my objective, for my career? And then telling people who you are. So definitely in this in the confident conversation section of this course, make sure that you are utilizing the tools around telling people who you are, what that sounds like, what that looks like, examples of that. I've provided all of that for you within this portal. Next, we have telling people what you want them to know about you and think about you. Girl, you gotta tell the people. And listen, don't get caught up in people who be like, I'm such a klutz, I'm such this, I'm such that, because that is them telling you about them. Probably in a way that they don't mean, and it's a way of when you don't feel confident in yourself that people do that. So don't feel the need to do that too. That is, if you have that as a habit, I want you to practice replacing the negative thing that you say about you with a positive. So like my thing is, I'm a great bridge. I stand in the gap for people. I stand in the gap for people because I can see both sides of the bridge. I'm a great mediator. I'm very diplomatic and can bring people together. These are the things I want people to know about me, because diplomacy, being able to mediate, are strengths of mine. So when someone has an opportunity that requires those skill sets, it will bring me top of mind for them. And then asking for what you need to get the job done without placing an undue burden on yourself. And so we've talked a good bit about that scenario, right? So, hey, Sally, can you get X, Y, or Z project done for me by tomorrow at 10 a.m.? yes, I can get that done, but it means that the other project we were working on will have to take a back seat unless someone else can pick it up in order to get this one done. Do you have a preference? You see how I placed a burden to decide back on them? I don't have any fight in the game, right? If they're the leader and they want something done before something else, that's their decision to make. So therefore, I'm saying yes, but do know that this isn't going to get done. Or I'm saying, sure, I can get that done. Would Jane, who may or may not report to me, be available to work on this X, Y, or Z piece of this project so we can keep it moving and I can work on this one as you've requested? You see how I'm asking for what I need to get the job done without trying to get both done and place an undue burden on myself? This is a sign of leadership, and one that I missed earlier on in my career. I thought that I needed to do it all. So maybe you feel that way. You feel stressed to show up and be perfect. And I know that feeling as a Black woman. You don't. Because a sign of leadership is being able to influence other people in order to get to the end goal. A sign of leadership is not you doing it by yourself, because you're not leading anyone, including yourself. And that's all for self-advocacy. If you have questions, let me know in our Facebook community, or you can email me at support@sistyouareworthy.com.